Well, the differences continue over Missouri's former right-to-work law, the same law that voters overturned in last August's primary. The differences now, though, are much more philosophical than political. Right to work is a term for a series of laws in 24 states that say workers don't have to join a union as a condition of employment. Missouri's right-to-work law was enacted during former Governor Greitens' administration in 2017, and opponents quickly garnered their needed signatures to put a repeal of right-to-work on last August's primary election ballot. But State Senator Eric Burleson has introduced Senate Bill 30 this legislative session, which effectively reinstates the old right-to-work provisions, and he's taken a lot of heat for this move. But rather than offer policy talking points in defense of his actions, Burleson turned philosophical during our interview in his Jeff City office.
I would say, particularly on issues such as this, when it comes to very fundamental issues of freedom, your freedom to pray, your freedom to be in the press, your freedom of speech, your right to not have a search and seizure without a warrant. All of these very fundamental things include your freedom of association, what groups you wish to join or not join. And I strongly believe your freedom to not associate or to join a union is really a fundamental right, and one that probably does not belong in a democratic vote.
Burleson also used an analogy many in the Ozarks can relate to.
If in our community, if we had a vote and the majority decided which church everyone had to attend, we would say that's really not appropriate, right? And so, in the same regard, it's a fundamental right. I don't believe that a majority should decide that everyone has to be a part of their association.
But if governing philosophy is the order of the right-to-work debate, Missouri House Minority Leader Crystal Quaid criticizes Burleson with a different set of principles.
First and foremost, say that overwhelmingly citizens told us what they wanted with these initiative petitions, whether that was for or against them. And fundamentally, to my philosophical core, I don't believe that the legislature should be jumping in right away and undoing the will of the people, bottom line. When it comes specifically to the right-to-work legislation, I will counter that and say that folks are not forced into joining the union. And we have seen in right-to-work states wages drop immensely in every state that has adopted right to work, which is a huge problem, obviously. We have a pretty good economy going on in Missouri right now, but folks are still very underemployed, meaning that they're working, but they still are not making enough wages to make ends meet. And if we, just looking at what other states have done, that is a big concern of mine. But overarchingly, again, when something is defeated with the numbers that we saw in the state of Missouri, I think it's just wrong for the legislature to come back just a few months later and say, no, we think that you're wrong, or you were confused, you don't know what you voted for, which I've heard legislators say. And I just think that that's a disservice to the citizens of Missouri.
But Burleson can talk about the will of the people as well.
My community voted in favor of it. My Senate district voted in favor of this issue. And so that is one discussion item that I think is, if people are not willing to have this as a statewide discussion, at least don't let every community in the state have to be a forced labor community.
In reality, these deeply felt differences between right-to-work supporters and opponents won't be resolved anytime soon. Meanwhile, the chances of success for Burleson's bill, which is now before a Senate committee for review, are unclear. What is more certain, however, is that Burleson is likely to keep his philosophy on right-to-work front and center for the remainder of his term. And we'll be back after this.